It's Tuesday, July 14. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Members of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association will meet with Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, today, July 14, to address unemployment issues facing junior doctors. Dr. Tufton made the disclosure via Twitter on Monday. The meeting follows reports that doctors were being sent home after they reported to health centers and hospitals to assume their duties. The Jamaica Medical Doctors Association says those affected are senior house officer doctors who are seeking to transition to medical officer grade 1 positions. It has been reported that the young doctors are being terminated due to budgetary constraints caused by COVID-19. However, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, in a statement on Sunday, said there is no fiscal restriction in filling the posts established within the regional health authorities. The ministry said it understands there are delays at some facilities in the contracting of doctors due to administrative arrangements that are to be finalized before contracts can be issued. It also said the full cadre of clinical staff at all facilities are being maintained during the period of the pandemic. Jamaica has recorded 1 new COVID-19 case and 8 more recoveries. That's the word from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The total number of positive cases now stands at 759. The total number of recoveries is 628. The newly confirmed case is a 69-year-old woman of Kingston and St. Andrew address who entered the country from the United States. There are now 241 imported cases, 236 cases that are contacts of confirmed cases, 39 are local transmission cases not epidemiologically linked, 236 related to the workplace cluster in St. Catherine, and 7 under investigation. 101 active cases are under observation. The World Health Organization says too many countries are relaxing their response to the novel coronavirus pandemic, adding that there should be no return to normality anytime soon. WHO boss Tedros Ghebreyesus says countries easing their way out of lockdowns are now witnessing a resurgence of the virus because they are not following proven methods to reduce risks.
In several countries across the world, we are now seeing dangerous increases in cases and hospital wards filling up again. It would appear that many countries are losing gains made as proven measures to reduce risk are not implemented or followed. The fourth situation is those countries that are in the intense transmission phase of their outbreak. We're seeing this across the Americas, South Asia, and several countries in Africa.
He added that mixed messages from leaders were undermining trust.
If governments do not clearly communicate with their citizens and roll out a comprehensive strategy focused on suppressing transmission and saving lives, if populations do not follow the basic public health principles of physical distancing, hand washing, wearing masks, coughing etiquette, and staying at home when sick. If the basics aren't followed, there is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. But it does not have to be this way. Every single leader, every single government, and every single person can do their bit to break off chains of transmission and end the collective suffering.
The novel coronavirus has killed nearly 570,000 people and infected more than 12.9 million since the outbreak emerged in Wuhan, China in December 2019. That's according to a tally from official sources compiled by AFP. It's being proposed that a new offense of predatory sexual assault be created and incorporated in existing legislation in order to broaden the protection of the nation's most vulnerable. The recommendation for the creation of this new offense is one of several brought forward by a joint select committee appointed to complete the review of the Sexual Offences Act, along with the Offences Against the Person Act, the Domestic Violence Act, and the Child Care and Protection Act. Here's a look at some of the other issues brought forward in the report. If predatory sexual assault is stipulated as a new offense, it would penalize any adult who engages in sexual intercourse with a vulnerable victim. Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith explained further to members of the Senate.
Defined as whether a child under the age of 12, someone with mental disorder, the description of vulnerable is dealt with elsewhere, Mr. President. Such a person would be guilty of an offense to be known as predatory sexual assault, and the recommended penalty for this offense would be a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Mr. President, this provision was a result of a very, again, robust debate on the matter of rape and its definition and how much protection is given under our laws, and the perpetuation of what is referred to in some quarters as a rape culture, Mr. President, where use of benign terms such as sexual intercourse with a person under 16 so remove all of the impact and trauma that can occur around such an incident, where especially the relationship is one of trust and confidence. The committee was not minded to adopt the phrase used elsewhere, which is statutory rape, and there was in fact, there was ultimately an agreement that the creation of this offense, this language, would provide an issue, or rather a consensus around which persons could agree.
The recommendation for the creation of this new offense is one of several brought forward by a joint select committee led by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. Senator Johnson-Smith noted that the committee also deliberated on the matter of marital rape.
Married women who are raped by their husbands will no longer have to fulfill certain conditions to qualify for legislative protection. The committee recommended that once a woman has withheld her consent in a relationship, irrespective of whether it occurs in marriage or not, it is to be considered rape. Among other things, Mr. President, it was recognized that rape is an act of violence, and marriage is an institution which must be fostered in a context of love and mutual respect, not violence.
Majority of the committee agreed to retain the age of consent at 16 years.
There was deep and robust discussion on this issue, Mr. President, and in fact I believe it may have been the only issue on which we felt compelled to call for a vote within the committee. And the majority view was that it would remain at that age, at that level. The committee has, however, on a related matter, decided to recommend the inclusion of a close in age provision of a 4-year ban, and this is again in the context of the Sexual Offences Act, Mr. President, which you know criminalizes sex under the age of 16. What was proposed is a 4-year ban to prevent children within a certain age range from being criminalized in circumstances where they willingly engage in sexual activity with each other. The fundamental point being, Mr. President, not to encourage this type of activity, but recognizing that its treatment by the justice system, the criminal justice system, is inappropriate and delivers poor results from all perspectives. Poor results in respect of the use of police resources, poor impacts on both young men and young women, and the unintended consequences of criminal records for activity which, even if ill-advised, is perhaps better treated as a social issue than a criminal one.
The committee also recommended that the Sexual Offences Act be amended to place an obligation on persons who enter Jamaica and have been convicted of a sexual offence abroad or have been listed on a sex offenders register abroad to report to the relevant authorities and be listed on the Sex Offenders Registry in Jamaica.
The committee also recognized significant weaknesses in the operation of the registry and therefore recommended expressly that the Ministry of National Security conduct a thorough review of the administration and operation of the registry.
Other recommendations called for a strengthening of penalties for offences against women, children and elderly persons living with disabilities, the strengthening of penalties, particularly in relation to aggravated assault and murder of pregnant women, the creation of a criminal offence of stalking and harassment.
The matter of corporal punishment was also discussed extensively, and the position that has been recommended by the committee and was agreed to by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information was that we were at a stage where we should move beyond the corporal punishment being prohibited only in early childhood institutions, which is the state of our current law, and that we should explicitly prohibit it in schools, public institutions for the care, instruction, or guidance of children who are in the care of the state. Also in public places was recommended by the committee.
Following debate on the report by government and opposition senators, the report was adopted, which Senator Johnson Smith noted will now pave the way for the completion of the requisite legislative amendments. The Trafigura case involving former Prime Minister Mrs. Portia Simpson Miller and 4 other senior People's National Party members is scheduled to be heard in the UK-based Privy Council on March 1, 2021. Lawyers of the PNP are challenging, among other things, a decision by the Supreme Court to make an order that Mrs. Simpson Miller, Philip Paulwell, Robert Pickersgill, Colin Campbell and Norton Hines answer questions in an open court from Dutch investigators probing a $31 million donation to the PNP. Dutch authorities reportedly wants to question the former Prime Minister and past PNP President along with other senior party members, but they have challenged the ruling to give statements in public. Under Dutch law, it is illegal for companies to donate to political parties. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn confirmed the court date. The Pbcj understands that the office of the DPP will be appearing as the designated central authority in the matter, acting on behalf of the Dutch authorities. Jamaicans here and abroad can now vote for their favorite 2020 Jamaica Festival song. There are 10 finalists in this year's competition, including Buju Banton with the song I Am a Jamaican, Freddie McGregor's Turn Up the Sound, O'Neal Nazarman Scott's Jamaica Nice, Shakina Dare's We Are Jamaica, Sugar's One People, and others. Voting began on Sunday, July 12 and ends Sunday, July 26. The public will decide the winner of the competition by text to vote. Head of Communication and Operation of the Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network, Kimon Gooden, says the network has partnered with the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission to promote the competition. The top 10 entries are available online platforms including Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, and Deezer. Time now for a look at the top business stories and what's going on the foreign exchange market with Gabriel Thompson in the Business Report.
In Monday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 4,055 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 77 stocks, of which 40 advanced, 26 declined, and 11 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 23 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Burita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Variable Preference, 1834 Investments, and Blue Power Group Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 7.5 million units, followed by Mailpack Group Limited with 1.4 million units, and Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with under 1 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Monday, July 13, ended trading at $143.84. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $107.65. The pound sterling traded for $183.53, and the euro ended trading at $164.36. Oil prices fell on Tuesday on worries that new restrictions to stem surging U.S. and Asian coronavirus cases could threaten a recovery in fuel demand just as OPEC producers prepare to increase output from August. Brent crude futures fell 44 cents to $42.28 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures slid 53 cents to $39.57 a barrel. And that's it for the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, Class 4 primary school pupils in Barbados set out on Tuesday to sit the 11+ examinations with assurances from the country's Education Minister, Cynthia Bradshaw, that all systems are ready for their arrival. More in this report from Barbados today.
In an update ahead of the test, Bradshaw said she has been assured by the 21 government secondary schools that will be used as examination centers that the students will be well taken care of. She urged students to remain calm and do their best.
We have been in communication with all of the schools, the invigilators, CXC, and we are satisfied that the students will be accommodated in relatively good conditions tomorrow. I think they have been preparing over the last couple of weeks for today. They understand all of the aspects of what they have to do, and so do the parents. We're continuing to ask the parents as well, just to be mindful that we're still operating in a COVID-19 environment. Try not to crowd the schools. We know we are anxious as well for the children going to do the exam, but we also want you to be mindful that it is not business as usual. And my advice to the students would be to just give up their best. A school does not define you. It is what you do in the institution when you get there in terms of your education. But really just give up your best.
Minister Bradshaw was speaking on Monday as yet another private sector company stepped forward to make a substantial donation to the country's children. This time around, it was the Initech group of companies led by Chairman Anthony De Silva.
This donation of 40 Chromebook laptop computers, 1,000 protective face shields, a thermographic camera and scanner for mass screening, and 60-number medical-grade infrared non-contact thermometers, all valued at about 75,000 Barbados dollars. Minister, our donation represents the Initech Group's commitment to supporting the educational efforts in Barbados, as well as the health and safety of our nation's children.
Meanwhile, the Caribbean Examination Council examinations got underway on Monday. CXC Registrar Dr. Wayne Wesley assured candidates across the region that all measures have been put in place to ensure they can comfortably sit their exams.
All examination centers and invigilators will follow national health protocols as it relates to social distancing, the wearing of masks, and the sanitization of hands and surfaces. We are encouraging all candidates to arrive early at the examination centers and to follow the guidelines and instructions provided by invigilators and center staff.
The St. Lucian Ministry of Tourism has announced that services will be limited to visitors at COVID-certified resorts. This ahead of St. Lucia's first flight since the closure of the airport due to the pandemic. Cecile Actil of MBC Prime News has this report.
Various operators have so far received personal protective equipment as safety protocols that will protect users against health or safety risks at work. The Ministry of Tourism announced its first American Airlines flight to St. Lucia post-lockdown. 160 passengers landed at the Uonora International Airport on Thursday, July 9th. The department has been working tirelessly with the various sectors to ensure that services at COVID-19 certified hotels is in line with health and safety protocols.
While it is that we limiting the services offered for visitors at the COVID-certified properties, we want to ensure a level of inclusiveness, and so persons don't feel that they're disadvantaged at this time. So yachting, for example, will be allowed for that bubble. Dive will be allowed for persons coming from the bubble and local consumption. And all of that will go live and ready to roll coming Friday. But our first flight scheduled for tomorrow, the visitors will be limited for the property, whereas the bubblecation, which will take its foot on Friday, will be able to enjoy the services of the entire sector, except to be able to go at the COVID-certified property.
As of Monday, July 6th through July 8th, the Ministry of Tourism began distributing a variety of PPE supplies to operators within the tourism sector, including boat operators. The supplies were presented to operators ahead of the American flight. It was the first flight since the island closed its borders due to COVID-19.
The boat operators have gone extensive training, and we have 56 operators which will be operating from the 9th of July. On Monday, we presented the taxi sector with their protective equipments, and both industries have showed tremendous gratitude for the start in the resumption of the service.
The Ministry of Tourism has appealed for patience from the other service providers in the industry as the island gradually resumes business. Cecil Actil, NBC Prime.
The Heritage Library in Trinidad was reopened on Monday after being closed for 2 years. Communications Minister Donna Cox paid a visit to the library at Abercrombie Street, where she received a library card. More in this TTT News report.
Once you understand your history, then you can understand your present and the future. Communications Minister Donna Cox used a quote to highlight the importance of the Heritage Library. The Heritage Library, situated on the second floor of the National Library in Port of Spain, is instrumental in helping people to learn about their past. And while it was closed for 2 years, National Library and Information System Authority Chairman Neil Parsonlal explains the Heritage Library services were still accessible.
The service was available downstairs, not in as expansive as it is here now, but we transferred the service downstairs. So persons wanting to obtain services could have access to services downstairs.
Minister Cox, reiterating the need for a heritage library, said there is nothing called too much knowledge.
Research and this historical information is very important. I'm very pleased that the NALIS has decided to open back this area. I know it's very important to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
She herself is intent on using the library, so much so that she got her own library card.
I am very happy to have been issued with a library card today. Actually, I'm a PhD student, so I know I'm going to be using this library, and that's why I look forward to getting my card.
And the NALIS chair shared what we can look forward to when visiting the Heritage Library.
The Ho Choi collection, you saw the A&R Robinson collection, we have the Freddie Kissoon collection, the La Petite Musicale. There's a lot that people can learn from, that's previously hidden treasures of Trinidad and Tobago.
And even if you think the library is not for you or your time has passed, Minister Cox sees it differently.
It's never too late to join the library.
After witnessing the reopening and receiving her library card, Minister Cox met with the NALIS board. Ian Wason, TTT News.
In sports, Arnett Gardens Football Club has released a number of players as the club battles the challenges brought on by COVID-19. Chairman Mark Golding in a statement noted that football clubs around the world are operating without commercial revenues since March 2020, and the challenges being faced by them are multifaceted. Kamal Malcolm, Fabian Reed, Steve Clark, Paul Wilson, Ramon McGregor, Romeo Guthrie and Damari Deacon are just a few remaining players listed. Head coach Alex Thomas is of the view that the team will do well as they have retained enough quality players to make them competitive. The country's senior athletes got their chance to be back on track after 4 months break in a competitive setting in the all-comers meet at the Ashenheim Stadium at Jamaica College on Saturday. World champions Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and Tajay Gale led the way. In Section 2 of the women's 100 meters, Fraser-Pryce stopped the clock at a world-leading 11 seconds to win the event. Sprint Tech Track Club's Sasha-Lee Forbes was second in 11.49 seconds and MVP Track Club's Antonique Stratton third in 11.84 seconds. Gale, a gold medalist in the men's long jump at the World Athletics Championships in Doha, Qatar last year, leapt 8.52 meters in the first attempt to win the event. Bronze medalist Sarika Jackson won the 200 meters in 22.89 seconds. Elaine Thompson-Hera was second in 22.98 seconds. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.